Spencer, you come from more of a finance background, and I'm curious. One of the complaints I've seen from other mining companies is that sometimes the pricing of the solutions doesn't justify. And so I was wondering, as you're kind of looking at different technologies, are you guys looking at sort of the price as well, and seeing how once you implement that technology, does it make sense in terms of cost and benefit?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very important, and that's the aspect in the business case. And sometimes with these projects, they'll make the business case and they throw it out the window. Now we've gotten the approval, let's start implementing. And so that's one thing that I see is there's not that follow-up, there's not keeping up with the costs and making sure it's lining up. And so that's one aspect of it, but it's very important to consider that, and there's a lot of things to consider. There are a lot of variables that play into this, and so that's one thing too. Your model's only as good as the variables you put into it, or as the model is. So you have to be very precise in that point when you're developing your NPV, and you have to also understand the risks involved. And I was explaining this to a company the other day. If you have two projects and they both produce the same NPV, let's say, and then you look at one, you say, there's a lot more risks in this one. This is a lot more undeveloped technology. You have to consider that. So risks are sometimes swept aside when mines are looking at the costs, and that's one thing to consider. So you have to really consider that whole holistically when you're making these decisions.
I think a lot of times in these models that you guys are doing, there's also a lot of assumptions. I mean, we're assuming, the uptime of trucks or other factors. So there's more to it than just a simple 1 + 1.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I think there's a good baseline of information and data that we have in order to make those assumptions.